Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Panda. It's been a while. I've been gone. I've been focusing on some personal stuff, but I am back making videos. I have a few things cooking up. But let's focus on today's topic. Today's topic is fan art. Should you draw fan art? It is something that, weirdly enough, throughout my years of drawing, has been a conversation and a debate in some circles for a while now. Should you create fan art? Some people think that you shouldn't. Some people really believe firmly that real artistic vision is when you're making your own pieces based off of your own ideas, and that fan art is a lesser form of something that will not get noticed or notarized or is really part of the mainstay of art. I think that it's wrong. I think that saying that fan art isn't real art is a completely wrong opinion. They can have their opinion, that's totally fine. But fan art is important. I will tell you why. Fan art is how people grow as artists. Fan art is how you understand how other people draw things. If you have a fan, if you are a fan yourself of a certain IP, of a certain creator or a certain artist, and you want to draw similarly to them, you study their pieces, you draw their pieces, you try to draw things in their style, you try to understand what makes the style of their art so appealing to you. So drawing their characters is a natural progression in studying how to draw in some similar ways to these artists. It is how you learn. You can't not draw fan art. I mean, it's just really just the most basic of basic things. If you take a look at anybody, for instance, I have a huge love for Tyson Hesse. If I wanted to learn how to mimic some things, some elements of that style, what would be the best way to do that? The answer is simple. You draw their characters. I would draw, the Diesel characters. I would draw the boxer hockey characters. I think that's what that series is called, boxer hockey, I'm pretty sure. Or you would just straight up go, oh, these Sonic character designs are Tyson Hesse. They're extremely Tyson Hesse, and they have specific elements that make you recognize it as a Tyson Hesse piece. So there are things that you can take when you draw fan art of this said character that will help you learn more as an artist, to let you learn other techniques, let you learn how other people think and develop characters and how they decide to shape the entire body and the dynamic of the silhouette of the character. I do understand that there are people who will trace and then post it and call it their own piece, but that's really not what we're talking about, because tracing can actually be a good way to learn as well. As long as you're not posting it and saying that it's your own, tracing is a very valid way of learning some techniques and some ways that people develop certain shapes in their pieces. But I digress. The best way to talk about this is to use examples. There is a profile on Twitter. This is an artist by the name of Spike R Monster. I follow him. I've commented on a couple of his pieces, and he's actually commented back. And I feel like this is a great example of an artist who understands the assignment of do what you want. Because this artist has not only been recognized by actual voice actors and creators of the Simpsons series, his interpretation of, latter half, later life Simpsons kids, even his comic book series that he's releasing right now, is a great example of understanding that you can have a severe love for a series and still make it your own. You can still make it your own thing. Or another example of that is Piccolo-kun. He loves drawing the Teen Titans, and he has actually been even associated with DC at this point because of the fan art he had made. He had made pieces of fan art, that you could call it, that ended up being recognized by the creators themselves, and he now is associated with them in some way. But these creators, Spike R Monster, Piccolo-kun, these creators really have an understanding of, I can develop more as a artist if I draw the things I love. And if you love a certain IP, if you love certain characters, if you love the way someone draws, drawing that stuff makes you better at the end product. If you're trying to learn how to draw a specific way, you have to learn from the foundations of where that source comes from. If you really love Airbender, the last Airbender, the original series, Aang, Sokka, all that stuff, you gotta draw that stuff. You gotta understand where it comes from, and you can't understand if it comes from it if you're not studying it. So basically, you can draw all you want. You can understand how the style goes. You can understand how they get the line weight and what kind of pens they use. You can learn the entire setup of how the creator's Photoshop is made. But if you don't study the actual art itself and don't draw the art itself, you're never going to truly understand what it is that makes this art interesting. So to say that fan art is lesser art is such a narrow-minded way of looking at things, because fan art deserves to be around. Fan art is some of the reasons why I follow artists. Fan art is such an important piece of community inside people's minds that you can't just throw it away. You can't throw away this idea that fan art is absolutely useless and there's no reason to be drawing fan art. You just have to make your own characters. People are inspired by different things all the time. People are inspired by tons of different things at all times, and to say that fan art isn't a huge piece of that is silly, because even when you look at something simple, you can see undertones of other things inside of it. There's the ye old saying for an artist: don't say said piece or said character when they make an original character looks like this other character from well-known thing, which I totally understand. It's very annoying. It's very discouraging sometimes when people say, hey, your character looks like this other character from this other series. Yeah, I get it. We use similar tropes. I understand this. They're not the same character. I spent a long time developing this character. They're not the same. But it's okay to admit if there's some inspiration there. Even if you want to make it your own thing, it's okay to say, hey, I did get inspired a little bit by this thing. It doesn't make them the same thing just because they look similar. I still drew it with my two hands, my creativeness. There's different elements used in this character as the said series, other characters, and they're not the same. And you can move on from that conversation knowing the fact that you honestly opened up and said, hey, I was inspired by something. Whoop-de-doo. This thing exists already. I understand, but this doesn't make them the same thing. And I understand why artists get frustrated by that. But when you're drawing fan art, it's a whole nother thing. Because one, you can develop your own style through fan art because you can actually use your style and your own interpretation of these characters and create a whole new setting and a whole new almost alternate universe by using your own style to create these characters in a specific way. And people can really get attached to that. People can get, this imaginary universe you created for this series. That could be a real starting point to an artistic career for some people. In other cases, drawing fan art is just mostly a hobby thing where you can just diagnose sort of how someone decided to develop a character. For instance, with the current piece that you're seeing now, I have a very big love for Hunter x Hunter. I find it a very amazing series that has a lot of great pieces to it and a great character development. But, as I was looking through color groupings and color theory, I noticed the fact that Gon has a particular color theory that all matches together. When you really look at his colors and you see the green with the orange, one of the first things that you look for is, okay, why does this make sense? Why did they choose these colorings together? And so when you look at that, you can kind of see that green and orange go together. Green and orange are on the triadic color combination. And then when you look at other things that he wears, or such as Kahlua, I probably said his name wrong. I will correct it if I did. his color scheme is blue, which in the triadic color combination, orange, green, and blue all match together. So they did that on purpose to make a complementary color scheme between these two main characters to help things along. Or if you look at other things, such as the fact that Kahlua himself is another piece of that, because his color scheme has blue in it. And if you look at a tetradic color scheme, for instance, and you see green, blue, red, and yellow all are together in certain shades, and Kahlua is next to a primarily green character. His primary color is blue, and then when he carries his skateboard, yellow and red are the colors that are associated with his skateboard. So these are all things I noticed because I started looking up character references for Gon. And I never would have thought about it if I didn't notice that, or the fact that yellow, green, and orange kind of go together like that. I never would have noticed all these things, or the fact that yellow, green, and orange are analogous colors that are a color scheme in of itself. And Gon's backpack that he carries with him is yellow. So they did all of this on purpose, and I never would have honestly understood it if I hadn't done this fan piece. If I hadn't created this fan art, I would have never understood that they purposely put these colors together, besides the fact that green has meaning behind it for calmness or confidence or things like that. Like green has, or nature or power, like they have specific meanings, which is why these characters have primary colors. Gon specifically is a very naive person who's very open, very nature-based. He can talk to animals in some of the scenes, or at least understand them. And so it's very interesting that they used his color scheme as a way of introducing the way that Gon is. All the colors were made the way they were on purpose, and I find that very fascinating, and I never would have thought about it unless I was thinking about why this character was colored this way. This character was made in this specific way, these specific colors, because of the artist thinking of these things. So it's very, very cool that I got to experience all this by making a piece of fan art. And fan art can do so many other things besides just teach you more about why character selections are such a specific way, such as the fact that when I was drawing this character, the main thing that I noticed was the fact that he had a very innocent look to him, very childlike, and that was made on purpose. There was just line qualities changed, you know, the way I shaded, the way I colored him completely was different from my normal take. And at the end of the day, I think I made a pretty good piece. I was actually very proud of this piece at the end of the day, considering how out of the game I've been. But as you can see, I feel like if you really think about it at the end of the day, fan art is just as valid, just as important, and just as creative as anything else anyone else could make. And if you think you want to draw fan art, do it. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. But that's all from me today. I hope you guys liked the video. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.